Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Peter Withoek. I'm the head of the delegation of Belgium, and it's my pleasure to present to you the case of Belgium during this multilateral assessment under the fifth cycle of the IAR process. I will start with briefly introducing our country. We are a small country in the heart of Europe. We have an open and export-oriented economy, and we are an important transportation hub with two big seaports. Our industry sector is quite energy intensive with our chemical industry and our food processing industry, but we also have an innovative industry sector, noting, for example, our pharmaceutical industry. Belgium is also characterized by a high density of population. We represent only 2.6% of the total population of the European Union. Our emissions, however, represent slightly over 3% of EU emissions. Our per capita emissions, therefore, at 8.9 tons of CO2 equivalents are above the EU average of 7 tons per capita in 2022, that is. Belgium is a federal country with 3 regions and 3 communities, which, next to the federal state itself, have their own parliament, their own government, their own administration, strategies and policies, and legislation, and which share many competences in the field of climate policy. However, and this is important, there is no hierarchy of norms between the federal state on the one hand and the federated entities, the regions and communities on the other, which reinforces the need for close coordination between these different levels of power, of course. For that reason, in 2002, the National Climate Commission was created, notably with the mandate to establish national climate plans, but also to monitor the impact of climate policies and to prepare and approve our national reports to the European Commission and the UNFCCC, where the National Climate Commission was responsible for developing a national climate plan with the entry into force of the EU governance regulation on the energy union and climate action in 2019. These plans have now become a national energy and climate plans, and the National Climate Commission has established a strong coordination with the also existing energy coordination group between the state and the regions. The main sector responsible for greenhouse gas emissions in Belgium is the energy sector at almost 71%, followed by industry process emissions, by agriculture, by waste, and some other sectors. Greenhouse gas emissions have gone down quite significantly over the last 2 decades, with almost 30% between 1990 and 2022, notably in the energy sector, as a result of the almost halving of emissions in the as a result of the combustion of fossil fuels in industry, due to closures of plants in the iron and steel sector, but also to a switch to electric furnaces we saw in those sectors. The chemical sector saw a 10% fuel consumption reduction between 1990 and 2006 already. And this should be compared to a 65% growth in added value. A major decoupling, which is linked to both the increased use of increased energy efficiency in the sector and a rise in the share of high added value products. Process emissions have also gone down significantly as a result of the closure of 2 nitric acid plants, the 2 remaining plants in Belgium, and a number of measures to reduce process emissions. Also in metal production, emissions have gone down sharply from 2009, notably as a consequence of the financial and economic crisis that has hit the sector very hard in 2009 and led to a decrease in activity of almost 50% in all subsectors. In energy industries, including the power sector, we saw a number of technological improvements, an increase of the number of combined heat and power installations, a switch from coal to natural gas and renewable energies, and the closure of 6 coke plants. In the residential sector, emissions have also gone down with about 37% as a result of the rising energy prices, improving building insulation, a shift from solid and liquid fuels to gas, all of which have compensated the increasing number of dwellings, an increase of 26% between 1990 and 2001 already. Emissions from wastes have been reduced very significantly as a result of biogas recovery from landfills, but also from the significant decrease in the amount of waste disposed. Finally, in the agriculture sector, we saw a decline emissions from enteric fermentation. Livestock numbers have gone down, but we also saw a shift from dairy cattle to brood cattle, and agricultural soils saw a reduction of emissions due to changes in agricultural practices, the use of synthetic fertilizer, and others. 2 challenging sectors, especially challenging sectors, are the transport sector, road transport, notably where the number of vehicles has increased by 72% since 1990. Traffic has risen by 49% in 2019. Road freight traffic contributed by growing by 114% in terms of ton kilometers. Passenger traffic increased by only, but still, 26%. The other challenging sector is the commercial and institutional sector, where emissions have gone up as a result of the rising number of employees, together with a rise in electricity consumption, which is mainly due to the development of information technologies and the increased use of refrigerated areas and air conditioning. Whereas GDP and population have grown in Belgium over the past decades, our emissions have gone down. So we can truly say there has been a decoupling between economic growth and population growth. Belgium is a member state of the European Union, as you will know, and the European policy context is very important as a driver for Belgium climate policy. I'm showing you the levels, the ambition levels that were set some time ago, both on the 2020 and 2030 horizon, a 20% emission reduction by 2020 shared between the sectors participating in the EU emission trading system and sectors outside of the ETS, notably housing, road transport, agriculture and waste, which have had a 10% emission reduction target by 2020. This 10% emission reduction target on the European level was shared between the member states, and Belgium in that context had a target of reducing emissions with 15% on the same timescale, 2005 to 2020. Our emissions have gone significantly down over the past 2 decades, as I've said, overall, but also in this non-ETS sector, sufficiently for Belgium to have achieved its target, its 2020 target in the EU context. Through a number of policies and measures, I'm showing you a table that was taken from the report by the expert review team when they reviewed our 5th biannual report some time ago. But I will not dwell on the details in the interest of time. The European Union as a whole has largely achieved its 20% emission reduction target on the 2020 horizon, both in the non-ETS sectors and in the sectors covered by the emission trading scheme. Looking ahead now at 2030, originally the European Union had set itself a at least 40% emission reduction target on the 2030 horizon, 30% in the non-ETS sectors, which led to a target for Belgium of 35% emission reduction from 2005 to 2030. However, over the past legislature, the European Union has increased its level of ambition through the European Green Deal and the European Climate Law, notably to a reduction of at least 55%, 40% in the non-ETS sectors, which leads to a 47% emission reduction target now cast into EU legislation, so a mandatory 47% emission reduction target between 2005 and 2030 for Belgium. Like the European Union, which has also in the context of the European Climate Law set itself the target of reaching net zero emissions by 2050, our different levels of power have also set similar targets, notably on the federal level, climate neutrality by 2050, not so as yet on the level of the Flemish region, which has, however, announced an update of its long-term strategy. But in the Walloon and the Brussels capital regions, the objective of reaching carbon neutrality is also echoed into their policy documents. The 47% emission reduction target in the non-ETS sectors will be a challenge. With the currently existing measures, we will not be able to reach that target, and indeed we will need a significant acceleration of policy to stick to the trajectory leading to a 47% emission reduction target. We will do that through a number of key policies and measures. I will not dwell on the details in this slide, but policies and measures throughout our economy, in the energy sectors, in buildings, in transport, and in a number of other cross-cutting, including cross-cutting policy areas. I would end with some recent developments in terms of planning. We will submit as soon as the document has been approved by all 4 governments competent to do so, our updated national energy and climate plan to the European Commission. We are also preparing a social climate plan to deal with any unwanted consequences of the introduction of a carbon price in the road transport and buildings sector. And in terms of governance, a number of decisions have been taken over the last couple of years to improve governance, to improve monitoring and planning of climate policies. And with that, I would thank you very much.